Hello Space Cadets, today we are going to be making a scene from outer space. We will be creating a rocket out of tinfoil, we'll be using some colored construction paper and making a watercolored background. We have a lot to do today, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So let's look at the supplies we're going to need. First, we're going to make our background. So to do this, we are going to need markers. I'm using blue and purple markers of different shades. And you'll need one sheet of white paper, some salt, and lastly, we will need a thing of water and a sponge or a brush. This will be used to wet our paper, so just anything you can use to wet your paper. So I'm going to put this example off to the side and we'll get started. Now you're going to want to put something underneath your paper because it is going to get very wet and we don't want to wet anything important underneath our paper, as such as a kitchen table or anything. So just put something underneath it, as I did a black sheet of paper. Once you're all set, you can begin coloring. So I'm using my markers and I'm coloring my background in any way that I want. I'm doing lines across my paper, but as you saw from the one earlier, I did splotches. This is completely up to you. You are just going to use different various colors of blue and purple and color in that background. Now, as you can see, as I'm coloring in with my purple, there are some dry marks where my marker is dying, but that is okay. Since we are going to be using this as watercolor, it is okay if our marker is a little dry, because when we use the water, it will smear the marker into the white marks. I'm just going in and I'm finishing coloring with my colors. I'm using blues and purples again, and I am coloring the background. Now, once you're done coloring the background with your markers, you can set them off to the side because we will not need them anymore. You're going to grab that sponge or paintbrush with the water and you're going to drag it across your paper. As you can see, it is dragging the blue across the paper and filling in some of those purple white marks. That's okay, that's what we're wanting to look like. And then we're going to finish off our background by adding salt. You will just sprinkle salt all over the paper and you'll see some magic happen as it dries. But while we are waiting for it to dry, let's sit our paper over to the side and get started on something else. Now we are going to create our rocket ship. To do that, we are going to be using tinfoil and a Sharpie. Now we do not need much foil to make our rocket because our rocket is kind of medium sized. You are just going to tear off a little sliver, just enough to make your rocket. And then we are going to flatten it out on our table and use our Sharpie to draw our rocket. So for this example, I'm going to draw a UFO, but how you draw your rocket or anything that you want to fly around in space in is up to you. As I'm drawing, I'm thinking of the details I can add, like maybe some zigzags, some lines, some buttons. Since I drew a UFO, I wanted to draw a little alien inside. All of these creative processes and ideas are up to you. When you're done drawing your UFO, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to grab some scissors. When cutting out our UFO, we are going to be careful because it might get a little sharp because we are cutting metal. It's just a very thin metal. We're going to cut around our UFO or our spaceship the best we can, just following the line that we created for ourselves. And we're just going to cut all off the excess and flatten our UFO back down, and we can put him over to the side because we are done making our UFO for right now. The next thing we are going to make involves construction paper, scissors, and crayons. We are going to be making our planets. As you can see, our planets will be of different shapes, colors, and sizes. To get started, you're going to grab your sheet of paper that you wish your planets to be. You're going to fold it in half hot dog style and draw a half circle. Then you're going to use the scissors and follow that line that you created for yourself around, and now you have a full circle, and that is one planet down. Then you can choose other colors and make more planets. This next planet I'm going to create is going to look like Saturn and have rings. To do that, you will do a circle, and then you'll make this hot dog kind of shape around, and then trace it with your scissors and cut it out. When it is all cut out and you open it up, it looks like Saturn with rings around it. You can make up to 3 to 5 planets for your paper of various shapes and sizes and colors. All of these things are up to you. I didn't really like how my second little tiny planet came out, so I took my scissors and just recut the shape to make it the way I liked it. That is perfectly okay. Now that my planets are cut out, they're a little plain Jane. I think they need a little bit more of details to make them up to the next level. So I'm going to use crayons to do that job. Now I'm going to color with patterns, textures, anything I think that my planets need to make them look the best they can. Now, when choosing colors to draw onto my planets, I'm thinking of analogous colors. Remember, that is one color on the color wheel and its neighbors. So, yellow's neighbor is green. So I'm using green to color on my planets that are yellow. I am following that same rule when coloring my other planets. For example, my Saturn planet is blue, and I'm using its neighbor purple to color its rings and some of its body. Now that I'm just finishing up on my last planet, I will then put my crayons off to the side. I am done with them. I don't need them anymore. So I'm just going to move my crayons off to the side. I'm going to put all of my things that I created together. And there's one thing I'm missing, and that is the fire that makes my rocket move. To do this, I will use a crayon to just draw some flames after I folded my paper hot dog style, and then I'm going to cut those flames out with my scissors. Now, to create a tiered look for my flames, which means one is shorter than the other, I will just do a shorter little flame in the front, cut my front flame shorter, and then I will have one short flame and one long flame, as you can see right there. Now is for the fun part. We get to glue our pieces onto our paper. In this film, I'm using a glue stick, but you can use anything that any type of glue that you have available to you. And I'm just gluing my planets down in any composition that I like best. So I'm just looking and placing my planets where I wish to put them and where I think they look best at. So I'm using the glue to glue down my planets, to glue down the flame that's going to fire up my rocket and move it around. And then I'm also going to use that glue on the tin foil. Now, It is important to note that the tinfoil is very thin, so when you are gluing that tinfoil, be extra careful that you do not rip it. Go really slow and add the glue very carefully. Then you can just glue it down, pat it down, and you are all done. So here is what it looks like finished. Here's also my example from earlier. Now you might notice that the one on the left has more specks. That is because I included more salt on that one. So if you like more specks, use more salt. I hope you enjoy this project. We would love to see what you create. Send it in, and I hope everybody is staying well and safe.